This week on Shift Points, you'll feel it kind of click actually, and then you can just pull that guy right out. Oh no, look what I've done. Put this on, see the antenna raises, giving adjustment on our bass settings here. That's gonna wrap us up. That is the complete installation of a Retrosound sound system. Plan is, before we go into the actual wiring itself, is actually talking about what I'm going to do in the interior here. So I've got, coming off of the amplifier, you have the mates to these pigtails right here that have this plastic plug. It's an 8-pin plug. This one is for the speakers. This one is for the power antenna, the power for the subwoofer, a constant power source, ground, and a switch power source. So what I want to do, instead of having a bunch of butt connections, which is not going to look so great and it's going to be really hard to manage inside of this, all of my wires, you can see, all of these wires are plenty long enough, including the speaker wires. These are speaker wires here. These are for the front and for the rear. All of these are way long enough to basically make it into the plug itself. So what I did, I ordered a kit, and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do. I want to take the pigtails out of these right here, make sure I take pictures of them, make sure I know which one is which, and basically take these out and then put pins, shorten the speaker wires and the power wires, and put pins on them, these specific pins that will clip into this connector, and put those in there and basically get rid of the pigtail, get rid of any sort of butt connection, and just have the wires from the speakers straight into this plug right here, and then that'll allow it to just plug right into that plug, and we won't have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 butt connections sitting back here behind the radio and looking terrible if you ever pulled it out and looked at it. This is going to clean it up, it's going to simplify it a lot, and make it to where you can literally just plug those in, unplug them. And the kit that I have also has the depinning tools, so if I ever had to do anything with it, all I gotta do is depin it from the plug, reroute it, or do anything like that. If there was any sort of change, which I don't think there will be in the future, but I can just go ahead and depin it if I need to. So let's check that kit out and see if we can figure out which tool needs to be used to take these connections out. So right here are all these different connections. I'm fairly certain that at least one of these pins will be the same as this guy right here from what I've researched online at least. But like I said, it comes with all these depinning tools. I'm going to do a little look in here and figure out which one will take the wires out of those plugs right there. I'll tell you, it makes me so happy when you have the right tool and it works exactly right. So I figured out that this tool right here is what we need to use here. And basically what you can do, go on each side of this, the top and bottom part of it, slide that guy in. You'll feel it kind of click actually, usually. The other ones I did, they did. And then you can just pull that guy right out. Same thing here, push it in, feel it click, and try one more time there, just like that. Little wiggle, comes right out. So that, like I said, is going to let me pick which one of these plugs, or which one of these ends that I need to use out of this set that I bought, and also give me access to that plug right there, and make it to where I can use it, and just wire those wires straight into this. So these are the crimpers that the crimps that I'm using. I got this kit off of Amazon. It's like a 340 piece terminal kit. These are the ones I'm going to use. They are the exact same ones that came on these wires, so you can see they kind of have like a fish mouth on them basically. And so there's the one that I'm using. These are the ones that came with the kits. So these are basically the same, and they have these little fingers here and those little fingers on the side there. That's what clips into this plastic plug right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and crimp one of these on here. I have this set of crimpers, but to be honest with you, this one was crimping it too loose. This one was crimping it too tight, and it was actually getting stuck in the jaws of the anvil on this crimper here. And so I'm just using a set of needle nose pliers here. It's important on these, and I actually learned this in my actual job. You can see there's two sets of fingers on here, these short ones and these long ones. So you want to strip the wire to where the wire itself, the stripped part of the wire, goes under the short fingers on this connector here, and then these taller ones, these longer ones, you actually want the wire, the insulation of the wire, to be under those. It's a little bit of a strain relief. So if you ever use a connector like this style, just something to remember. So that it's bites into it. Now this is ready to plug into this. Like I said, I've already started making these. This blue wire here is light blue with some wire I had. That's going to be our switch 12 volts for this system. The blue and white wire is for the remote switch to turn on the subwoofer. And then this green wire here is for the power antenna. This is the switch power antenna. So, and I'll be honest, these connectors, the ones that I bought, I've been having to kind of pull those fingers out to make sure that they bite into this plug well, so it doesn't try and push itself out whenever you plug it in. But you can just push that in the back there, and that's solidly in place there, and then you can go ahead and plug it in. So that is the power side of this. I'm going to do the same thing with the 8 wires for the speakers themselves, and same deal. I've got these are the ones to the back. These two right here, sets of wires here, are the ones to the back speakers. I have the front speakers tied up here on the rear view mirror so they're out of the way. But I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Shorten these wires, plug it in so it can hook into this connector, and it should just plug straight into this and really keep this really nice and clean. Alright, got these all plugged in, got them all connected, shortened, and then into this big main plug here. So I'm not going to lie to you, that was not easy. Either I had kind of messed up the connection, the connector a little when I used the tools to take the old ones out, or these new connectors just weren't super high quality. Could be either one, to be honest with you. But I finally got them all to snap in place and make sure that they didn't pop out whenever they plugged in. So we've got a good solid connection here. So now I can go under the hood and finish up all of the wiring under there into our new fuse panel, and that should have us ready to trial out all this. So out here under the hood, we've got a constant wire from the amplifier here. That's going into our circuit here. 15 amp fuse in there. The 10 amp fuse coming off of our subwoofer. So those are all running into our fuse panel. We've also got a 5 amp switch 12 volts that runs to our powered antenna. So that's that guy right there. The other thing is the radio itself I have on just our open switch circuit. The reason why I have that like that is because there is a fuse built into the back of the radio, and I don't want to have 2 fuses in line there. So that's just running straight to our switch side of our fuse panel out here, and that's where all of our power pickups are coming for this guy. The only thing I have left before I can test this is to connect that ground on the bolt that I put through the near the trunk floor back there. I'm going to jack the back of the car up, tighten that up, and then run a ground strap from that bolt to the frame, so that we've got a really good ground back there, and should provide a good body ground to the entire body of the car. Alright, so I feel like it's been a little while since I went under a car with you guys. We're working on Dad's red truck. I felt like it was every week we were doing it. So let me get you under here. This worked out super well, but better safe than sorry. So you guys remember we run that bolt through the floor, and you can see that bolt sticking out there. I had one of these braided ground straps, and that is bolted, so there's a nut through on the back side of that strap that has that bolt held in place on the inside of the car. Then there's a washer, the ground strap, a washer, and then a lock nut on this side of it. That strap was exactly long enough to come right down here to a hole, to a hole that already existed right there, and we were able to thread this bolt into it, and it locked it down, and it is not touching the brake lines or anything right in there. It's completely clear of everything, and it has a little tension on it, so it's not going to do anything crazy. So this is really good. Alright, time to connect up our battery here. Got that. Nothing crazy yet. So let's go Turn the switch on, see if the radio comes on. Switch is on. Radio is on. Oh no. The display's upside down. Oh no. Look what I've done. Dang. That's upsetting. Now the radio's on. I don't see a power light on the... Oh, because I probably haven't turned it on. That's on. Got a power wire there. Got a light there. I don't have any... Oh, yeah, I do. I've got power on the subwoofer. Alright, we have power to all the components.
I don't see no smoke.
That's a positive. Alright, let's turn it into some FM here, see what we can find. Antenna went up. I'm so mad I put this display in upside down. Do I have volume back here? Yes and yes. Alright, so we at least have power to everything. Now let me connect up to Bluetooth on my phone. And I'll have to play with the settings on everything too. I've never set an amplifier or a subwoofer.
Me neither.
Oh really?
No. Find it hard to believe, I'm sure.
I do kind of find that hard to believe. That's working, so I'm going to get the instructions and figure out how they say to set everything, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, I got back on it this morning, got the radio pulled out and this display flipped over. Literally just had it flipped over. But I am glad, because I did notice when I started taking this apart that my bezel actually had a little bit of a bow in it, and I was able to move the knobs, the knob mounts. You guys remember the infinity mounts, I believe is what they were called, infinite mounts that mount on the side of the radio. I was able to move those forward, which moved the face back, and then I was able to shorten the knobs a little bit, and it got this seated in here a lot better and made sure that I didn't have any sort of bow in the bezel, which I'm actually super happy with. So in the long run, it was for even more of a good cause to go ahead and pull this radio out. Got the display flipped over. So let's check that out now. Put this on. You can see the antenna raises. You turn the ignition on, radio's on. And you can see now that we actually have these letters up where they need to be. Alright guys, I want to talk you through what I did to tune in the radio. I had videos of stuff with music playing and how we tuned it in, and I was really just worried about getting hit with a copyright on the video. Last thing I want is to make a video about all this stuff and then get hit with a copyright just because I have the wrong music playing in it. So what I did was I turned on the radio, set everything to 0, dialed in the amplifier by setting the gain. There's knobs on the side of the amplifier. I'll show those to you. So you can see right there's knobs on the left and right side of the amplifier. One is for the front speakers, one is for the rear speakers. And you can take a small screwdriver and insert there and tune those up and down. You want to set them to a min, and then slowly start turning those knobs to the max until you get some sort of distortion in your speakers. At that point, you want to go to where there's distortion and then come back just a little until that distortion goes out. Also on the amplifier, there's 2 switches. There's a high pass filter that you can set on that will basically only allow the mids and the trebles to go to the speaker and all the bass to go to the subwoofer. So that way you don't have to strain your speakers, and that's usually where you get that rattle in your speakers, is having too much bass in them. So the subwoofer's there to take care of that. So once you do that, then you can move on to the subwoofer. Again, leave your settings at 0, go back to the subwoofer. There is a remote gain that you can plug into your subwoofer. Let me show you that too. So this guy here allows us to set our gain without having to be in the car. Since the subwoofer's mounted back here under the trunk, I can't get to that knob without pulling the seat out. This allows me to make adjustments to the gain there while being right here in the trunk. I have to mount that up still, just ignore that. So then at that point, you're basically gonna do the same thing. You're gonna start turning your gain up until you get some sort of distortion, and then back it back down just a little. That kind of sets everything where it is. And then I went into the radio itself and actually made some fine-tune adjustments, setting the treble and bass inside the radio itself. And man, this thing sounds really, really good. So when I did cruise it up to Asheville, when my circuit was working, everything sounded really awesome. I was really happy with it. My son was super happy. He loves listening to music in the car. So cruising with the windows down and music playing, just about as good as it gets for a Saturday night for me, to be honest with you. Let's jump in here real fast. I want to show you the actual radio and some of the settings that you can adjust and what you're able to do with this radio as well. So I told you guys, whenever you get this radio, there's a lot of different things that you can adjust here. And it's because each one of these knobs has a function, and this knob here also has a function. So basically, you can turn this guy off. That's gonna go, you press and hold the knob, that turns the radio off. If you press it again, turn back on. And at that point, then you can go in here and start making some adjustments. If you turn this to the left, this outer knob to the left, that will make a call on your phone. If your phone is connected with Bluetooth, it'll call the last person that you called on your phone. You change, if you press and hold it in the other direction, it'll go to the radio. If you do this again, it goes to Bluetooth audio. So that's what that does. That's what those knobs do. And this, of course, is just your volume in general. And then it goes back down to 0. This knob, if we take and press and hold this knob, you go into some other settings. So you can go into, you can set your radio where you can check it with the manual or the auto seek feature. So you can dial in your radio itself using manual, or you can just let the radio auto seek a channel that's working. We've got your distance versus local. This is again with your radio stations. I'm going to leave it on distant. You can set your clock on 12 hours or 24 hours. You can set your display to where it shows the clock or the frequency that is being played at that time. Clock is on. This thing has a beep that you can do. So it does this. I don't like that at all, so I'll leave that off. And then you have all these different color settings for the screen itself. I still haven't got to drive this thing at dark whenever I actually had the lights working. And I'm going to want it on one of these green settings, either the green 2 or green 3. And that's because whenever we pull our dash lights on, it'll be almost impossible to see here. All of our dash lights in the Galaxie are like this kind of alien looking green. So that's why I want to put this onto that, so that basically the radio looks like the dash lights as well. And then if I can't find one that I'm happy with, I'll just set it to white, because that's pretty traditional, looks pretty good. But I'm thinking it's either this one or this one. I'm going to leave it there for right now, because it is kind of a pale green. And so then at that point, let's go back in here, and then you can go through, there's your colors, you can set your brightness and all this stuff. There's a lot of options here, honestly, that I don't know, and I'd have to go into the manual to double check. But there's a lot of different things you can do with this. Now if we look on this side, if we press that knob there, it gets us into our other settings, which is giving adjustment on our bass settings here, adjustments on our mids, our trebles. You can adjust your balance left to right and your fader front to rear. I have this pretty far into the rear because this dual cool speaker being right here in the dash, it kind of overpowers you right here in the face a little bit. So I have it faded back to the back quite a bit. If we move on here, you got extra bass. Turn on your subwoofer and your volume for your subwoofer as well, and the settings here for your subwoofer, and then there's all these other settings, which again, not something I'm familiar with. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get brushed up on what those are exactly, but in general, those are your basic functions for each one of these knobs on the radio. And of course, you also have these buttons here. These do function. You have these are presets. So when you click those, that'll give you your preset, and you can go in there and set those each one. And if I remember right, we should be able to go like right here, press and hold, and then that's how you save your preset there. One thing I have noticed about this is going down the road, there is a little bit of feedback or interference in the speaker. And from the research that I've done, I think that's coming from the alternator. So there are some filters that you can buy to put in line that will kind of kill that feedback. So at some point I'll probably do that in it just to kind of cut back on that, because there's a little bit of a high-pitched whine, especially if the volume is turned really far down. You can hear it over the music sometimes, but if you're driving down the road with your windows up and everything like that, you have to turn this up loud enough to where you can actually, where you can't even notice it when you're going down the road. But just one of those things that I think maybe in the future I'll do to it, put in line to kind of keep that feedback from happening. So I am going to play you guys some music here. I'm hoping I have found some duty-free music, some royalty-free music. So if it's a song you never heard of, I'm sorry, but that's just how it has to be to make sure that my video doesn't get taken down. So I want to put that in here. I'm going to play it, and also I hope that the camera microphone will do it justice. Hopefully it does. But yeah, so let's check this out real quick. You can tell thing has a ton of volume. It's got a good bass sound to it, I think. I do think I need to do a little bit more adjustments to it, just a little bit, just playing with it, kind of figuring out the best settings for this going down the road. But in general, this thing has done really, really great, and I'm happy with it. And with all that being said, that's going to wrap us up. That is the complete installation of a Retrosound sound system into a 1964 Galaxie, done by Shift Points. So that's how we did it. So again, let's do a real quick recap. We've got the 2A motor Redondo radio in the dash. We've got the dual coil stereo speaker in the dash as well. We've got two of their 6-inch diameter speakers in the back in the packing tray. We've got the subwoofer mounted behind the rear seat and the amplifier mounted under the radio in the floor on the transmission tunnel. This came with a lot of work. I went in and made triple protection on this by building this complete circuit panel here and basically getting everything off of the stock wiring harness into its own independent harness to make sure that all this stuff works without fault. And even with all that time and effort spent into that, I still ran into something because, silly me, had decided to tap into the old wiring harness. That's literally what I just said I wasn't going to do. Tapped into the old wiring harness, and that's what caused our problem. Everything else has worked flawlessly. So now that that is all complete, I'm ready to go drive this thing. We're going to take it out and cruise it. So we appreciate you guys so much for following along. I've had a lot of people ask questions, especially about the fuse panel and stuff. If there's anything that I didn't cover that you have questions about, you can always put those in the comments. I am the one who answers those comments. Just me. It's just me that handles all that stuff. So you're going to be talking directly to me if you put it in the comments. And man, we appreciate everybody that does that because I really like interacting. And I learned a lot through comments. I've learned a lot of what not to do in the comments as well. But that's okay. So we appreciate you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button. Follow along with us. I think we might be working on Dad's blue Ford Fairlane next. For some self-proclaimed Chevy guys, we sure work on a lot of Fords. So appreciate you guys following us on social media, of course, as well. And we'll see you guys next week.